It's the reading chair. Do you guys remember this? It's my reading chair. We're back in it filming another video from my reading chair. I'm so happy to be here with you. I hope you brought your boarding pass. I hope you packed your bags. I hope you found someone to cat sit your dog or dog sit your cat, because we are about to embark on a world tour. We're going on a world tour, baby. Mr. Worldwide. You guys know, I think you do, that for the past couple of years now, I think it's been, I have set out, I've gone around, and I have been trying to read a book from every single country in the world because I just want to. It's fun, it's exciting, you learn new things, you get some new perspective, you learn a lot about different countries, different cultures, different methods of storytelling. It has been incredibly, it's just been amazing, pretty much. I found some of my favorite books, some new 5-star reads from this journey. After years and multiple videos, I will leave a playlist down below that you can check out if you want to see updates from the very beginning. After years of doing this and so many comments from you guys being like, I want to go with you, I'm cordially inviting you along for the ride. I'm very, oh my god, the goose. I'm very excited about it. So I have joined a reading app, a book app. You might have heard of it. It's called Fable. I am so excited to introduce you to my very own book club. I've never had a book club that is solely my own since joining BookTube. I've never had a place where it's just gonna be me and you. I joined Fable and I created a book club, and I'm just gonna tell you about it without any other further ado before we get really into the meat of this video. I've called it the World Tour Book Club, and it's free, completely free to join. We're gonna be reading one book per month, and the goal is just to read books from every country in the world, all of the countries in the world, and to read them together. It's so fun. Fable is a really cool platform because yes, you can have book clubs on there, but you can also post reading updates, you have your list, you have book recommendations. It's basically just the ultimate reading app. You have friends, obviously, you can chat with people, you can post updates with like photos, videos, just like status updates. You can set goals for like daily reading streaks, and unlike another reading app that we know, it's actually functional. Before I get too far into this video, which is an update and an announcement all in one, please join. Please come hang out. Like I said, it's free to join. We basically enter this huge group chat where we can all talk about the book that we're reading. Our first book, I'm actually going to be asking you to vote on which book we're going to be reading, and I'll also be posting updates on like Instagram about the book club and what I'm reading. But yeah, I just thought that this would be the perfect theme since I've seen so many of you be like, I want to join, I wish there was a book club for this. Like literally hundreds of comments at this point now, so here it is. And just so you know, this book club and our picks for this endeavor won't just be limited to the countries that I haven't read from yet. We're just going to start from scratch. We're going to start the book club from scratch as if we've never read from any country in the world ever, so that we just have a fresh start. The two books that I'm going to be asking you to vote between are from Argentina and Mexico, and they are Like Water for Chocolate and Earth Eater. Earth Eater is by an Argentinian author, and Like Water for Chocolate is of course the absolute Mexican phenomenon. And then for the next country it's going to be reading from throughout the year, I'll either just do like a randomizer like I've done in the past, or I'll take a look at my shelves, I'll take a look at your recommendations, what everyone is kind of feeling, if there's a specific book that you guys really want to read, or I will just do like the really fun randomizer. I love randomizers. So I'm now going to give you an update because you guys have also been asking for a video update on all of my around the world books that I have been reading over the past month or year, or just what's up. Like I said, there is a playlist on my channel if you want to start from the beginning, because I'm not going to be going through every single country and repeating myself. I'm just going to be giving you new updates, maybe a favorite from that country, or if I've read any other new books from countries I've already read from this year, which is pretty much what I've been doing this year. I think 2023 I've only read from 4 or 5 totally new to me countries that I've never read from before, but I have gone back and read a lot of books from countries that I've previously read from and found a lot of gems. Please enter the cabin, please find a comfy seat, please go introduce yourself to the rest of the flight, the rest of the crew. I have my notes up right here. The first country that I ever read from for this challenge was Japan, where I read Snow Country, but in 2023 I read Idle Burning, Woman in the Purple Skirt, Even If This Love Disappears Tonight, and Dance, Dance, Dance. Even If This Love Disappears Tonight was a 5-star. Dance, Dance, Dance was a 5-star by Murakami. I wrote half of my thesis, my undergraduate thesis, on Dance, Dance, Dance and hotels in general, so I think Dance, Dance, Dance takes the cake for my favorite book from Japan so far. Murakami in general has my heart from this country, but I also have some books on my shelf from Japan that I haven't yet read. The one that I probably want to read the most is The Temple of the Golden Pavilion by Mishima. I read The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea last year. I would really like to get around to more of Mishima's work. I've also read from India. I read Gacha Gocher. It was the first book I read for this challenge. But in 2023, I also read Latitudes of Belonging. This one didn't completely work for me for a number of reasons, mostly because it is more short story-esque, but if you love themes of like environmentalism, how everything is connected, and geography and geology, mostly geology and like earth sciences, I would highly recommend Latitudes of Longing. I still gave it a really solid like 3.5 stars. I've also read from China. I haven't read anything new from China in a while, but I do have Journey to the West on my shelves, which is probably going to be my next read from China. From Russia, I read Childhood, Boyhood, Youth, but in 2023 I read another 5-star, which is The Brothers Karamazov. Beside each country, I have like a tentative favorite so far from that country, and it is definitely between War and Peace and Brothers Karamazov. So this was just phenomenal. Like, this was so good. One of my favorite books of the year. We read this for Game of Tomes, and wow, definitely is a big challenge to get through, but really glad that I read it. And then I'm actually currently reading Evgeny Onegin right now by Pushkin. It's going to be my first Pushkin ever, and I'm really enjoying it so far. That is my update for that country. For Finland, I first read Year of the Hare, but for 2023 I also read the Summer Book. Johnson's Summer Book. She is the creator of the Moomins, and I also have Moomin Papa at Sea still on my shelf, but the Summer Book is such a cute, wonderful, charming little book. It is about this young girl and her grandma who are living off of the Gulf of Finland on this small island every summer, and it's about their adventures, about what they get up to. It is just so charming, and I can highly recommend the Summer Book. I of course have read from the UK and the US. The bulk of the books that I read as a native English speaker are predominantly going to be coming from the US and from the UK. Not so much Canada, sadly, so I will still tell you about updates with Canada, but we're just going to skip right over the UK and the US because it's not really what this challenge is about. And then from Turkey, I first read Snow. I haven't read anything new from Turkey, but I do have 10 minutes, is it 10 minutes, 15 seconds in this strange world? And I also have this currently on hold on audio, so I would really like to get to this one soon. It sounds absolutely tragic. I believe it is about this woman's last like 10 minutes as she is dying, and she kind of goes back over her life. I believe she's murdered, so it's just very, I don't know, it sounds absolutely incredible. For France, I first read Micromagus by Voltaire, but in 2023 I read The Stranger. I actually reread The Stranger, but I had never read The Stranger by Camus in English. Wasn't really a big fan of this. Like, I loved talking about the ideas of this. This is about a young man who is just living life, a life that is absolutely absurd. Camus is just talking about absurdism. He's like, my mom died, this is going on, I'm going to prison because I committed a crime. He's not really feeling anything towards anything because nothing to him can have very much meaning, and therefore can't really solicit any big emotion because everything is meaningless. So my favorite book from France, though, is of course The Phantom of the Opera. Of course it is. It still is. To this day, by Gaston Leroux. It has my heart. It will always have my heart. I'm due for a reread, so I don't know. I don't think I'm going to slap The Phantom of the Opera onto our book club because that's just, it feels a little bit selfish, but I've also read from South Africa. I've also read from Iraq. I read Frankenstein in Baghdad. Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadawi is favorite piece, and one of my favorite pieces that I've discovered from doing this challenge in the first place. Highly recommend. I've read from South Korea. I read Almond. The one piece, I think I have one more piece of South Korean lit on my shelves that I haven't yet read, and that is Pavane for a Dead Princess. For Italy, the book that I first read for the challenge was My Brilliant Friends by Elena Ferrante. But this year I went to Italy, which is very cool. So I did actually get to go on a plane and go to one of the countries. And there I bought this nonfiction piece called Venice and the Anthropocene, edited by Cristina Baldacci. She works at the University of Venice, and this is all about how Venice serves as like a microcosm for bigger issues that we are dealing with within the Anthropocene, namely climate change and different factors like that. But because Venice is a city built on water, where its sea levels are rising rapidly, dramatically, drastically, it serves as a really good place to talk about issues that the rest of the world faces or we're gonna face soon. It was really interesting. It was also a guide, like a tourist guide, so with every article or like essay or just discussion, because each of the articles would probably only span 3 to 4 pages. It also invited you to go to a specific place in Venice and see what the author was talking about. So really cool compendium. I still have If on a Winter's Night a Traveler on my shelf. That one, spoiler, may or may not be arriving to this book club sometime. Also have The Days of Abandonment on my shelf, as well as the second Neapolitan novel, which is actually behind me. My favorite book from Italy so far, I don't know, I'm just gonna be basic and say Dante's Inferno. I did really enjoy myself with that one. From Brazil, the first book that I read was The Alienist. Loved it. My favorite read from this country so far is The Posthumous Memoirs of Brás Cubas. I really enjoyed that one by Machado de Assis. I think it was just great. It was so great, and I'm so glad I still have more from this author on my shelves to get through. The most recent addition to my shelf from this country is Gabriella Clove and Cinnamon. I forget who the author is, but this is about a small town in Brazil, I think, and I would really like to get to that very soon. I actually got that book for my birthday in 2023. I think I only read Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector for this country. That one I got to read for a Latin American lit course I took, but I have read from Lispector before, and Hour of the Star is probably my favorite novel. It's very short, highly recommend. From Lebanon, I feel like I always have to mention Gibran. Oh, The Prophet, The Broken Wings. Read both of those, loved both of those. If you have any recommendations, please let me know, because I'm fresh out. From Canada, I did actually read a few more pieces of literature and Indigenous literature specifically this year. So I got to read The Break. Ooh, I got to read The Break by Katerina Vermette. This is one of the most affecting books I've read this year, one of the heaviest, one of the hardest to read. The Break is probably the hardest book I've had to read this year in terms of the content. This is about a community in Manitoba and a crime that affects the whole community, and kind of figuring out what happened. And we're following a whole bunch of different family members from this same family, as well as other people in the community, including like a police officer. I do recommend The Break. It is really a really strong piece, but yeah, be careful with that one. And then probably my favorite read was Monkey Beach by Eden Robinson. Oh my god, I loved Monkey Beach. This one is set in northern British Columbia, and we're following this girl who has really struggled growing up with different dreams and visions that she's been having. And it's, wow, it's just, I don't want to say any more than that. I think Monkey Beach is a book that you should go in pretty blindly. It's just so compulsively readable. My favorite book that I've read from Canada is, of course, Icefields. Icefields by Thomas Wharton, which I got to reread this year, and it still stands up. It's still a 5-star. From Germany, I did get to read another German piece, I guess. It's a nonfiction, and it is Goethe's Italian Journey. So it's about this German man. He's having a breakdown. He's having a midlife crisis, and he F's off to Italia. And he has a really great time. I didn't really like Italian Journey. My German picks have, I don't know, they've been letting me down. But the good news is that I still have Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse on my shelves. I was thinking about putting that one on here as well. Let me know if you're interested. Do you have any recommendations for this book club? I think I forgot to mention, but now is the time. Like, my ears are wide open. Germany, you're letting me down, but I have high hopes for you. I've read from Zimbabwe. The one book from Zimbabwe I had left on my shelf is The Hairdresser of Harare. I've read from Romania. I've read from Mexico. I love you. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. Well, not really. I want to learn how to read Spanish. In terms of the literature I've read from all of these countries that I have read from for this challenge so far, Mexico, I think you are my number one. I first read The Iliac Crest, which became one of my favorite books, I think, of all time. 5 stars. My favorite book, though, Oh, I don't know. See, I can't pick between Iliad Crest and Pedro Paramo. Both 5-star reads. Both made it onto, I think, my favorite shelf of all time. And of course, I have like Water for Chocolate on my shelves, which may or may not be, I mean, you guys will know by the time this video is up, the first book that we're going to be reading for this book club. And I also have the Taiga Syndrome on my shelf, also by the same author as Iliad Crest. It just looks so good. It just looks so good. Argentina is the country that I have read the most from this year. I think that's on this list, aside from Japan. The first book that I read from Argentina for this challenge was Thus Were Their Faces by Savino Campo. Didn't like it, but every other book that I've read from Argentina so far I've loved. So I dove into Borges this year for the first time. I have his bound up collection. I'm just going to read it front to back, but the first book in it was The Universal History of Iniquity. That was my introduction to Borges. It was great, really interesting. Love his writing style. I also got to read How I Became a Nun this year, which was also on my syllabus for the Latin American course. Very cool, very tricky. Also got to read The Motorcycle Diaries, also for that course, another piece of nonfiction. And then the two books on my shelf that I want to read the most, we have The Tunnel by Ernesto Sabato, and we have Two Sherpas, which is the most recent addition to my shelf for Argentina. I've read from Norway, favorite book from Norway so far is The Ice Palace by Terry Vesos. I really want to read The Birds by the same author. We have a 5-star from Nigeria with Things Fall Apart. From Ireland this year, I got to read The Third Policeman. First book that I read from Ireland for this challenge was Solar Bones. The Third Policeman by Flann O'Brien was just okay. It was just okay. I don't know. I didn't really love it, but I might come back to it. I've also read from Sudan, one of my favorite books of all time now, Season of Migration to the North. Again, I am fresh out of Sudanese lit, so if you have any, please. From Australia, I first read My People, but I also have Cloud Street. Colombia, of course, 100 Years of Solitude, favorite from that country. I've read from Denmark, I've read from Iran, I've read from Austria, and then Iceland. I first read The Blue Fox, but Heaven and Hell is actually my favorite book from Iceland by Jan Kalman Stephenson. Now that I've told you some new books from old countries for me that I've read from, I'm now going to tell you the new to me countries that I've read from this year. So first up, we have Jamaica. I read The Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands by Mary Seacole. This was really interesting. This was really interesting. This is another piece of nonfiction, travel diary, memoir, which apparently I've been reading a lot of this year. And I think when you're reading sometimes books from different countries, these can be so illuminating because she is just straight up, or whoever the author may be, they're just straight up telling you their life experience, which is so cool. So Mary Seacole became a nurse, and then the Crimean War broke out, and she was like, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna help people. Like, I am such a good nurse. I'm so competent. I'm gonna go and I am gonna join like different, like what Florence Nightingale was in, basically that legion of nurses or something. Because that legion was supremely racist, she was refused, and she's like, well, I'm gonna go anyway. Like, I'm just gonna go anyway. And so she opened up her own business over there in the Crimea called the British Hotel, and it's just all about that. Very cool. Very interesting. The sequel is so funny. I also got to read from Guatemala. I got to read The President. Really cool. This one was really horrifying. I got to write a couple of essays on the president. It's surreal. There's a lot of dream sequences. It's very violent. It's just the kind of book that makes you nauseous because it's so powerful, so visual. I finally got to read from Portugal, so I read Blindness by Saramago. I like this. I listened to the audiobook of Blindness, which I think is the way to go because blindness is about an epidemic of blindness. So everybody that we know of on the planet loses their sight, except for one person that we know of. And it's kind of about what happens. It's Saramago's like vision of our world and what it is potentially, what it can be. I thought it was really interesting, and I still have the Book of Disquiet here as well. The Book of Disquiet is here, which I really want to read. And then I think the last country that I read from, if I have all of my notes correct, for this year was Palestine, and I read Minor Detail by Adania Shibli. Amazing, like amazing. What a text. This was so good. I highly recommend. This is about two different timelines. Minor Detail is also a very short book, but it's about a crime that occurred in the past. Again, I'm not going to say too much because I want you to go into this one and just let the book speak to you. And then we jump forward to pretty much present day-ish, in the 2000s at least, and we have this woman who's reading a newspaper about the crime from the past, and she's like, I don't know, there's something about this, it speaks to her. She snags on minor details of the case and she's like, I want to know more. So we kind of get her becoming an amateur sleuth detective and trying to find out more about what happened in the past. Technique, the narrative style, everything about minor detail was just top notch. So I highly recommend this one. And I just put a few other countries that I have still on my shelves that I haven't yet read from, in case like you guys were interested in any of these books, or you were like, yeah, I want that book in our book club. So I have Sweden, I have Kalokane by Karen Boya, and I have A Living Soul by P.C. Yersild. From the Philippines, I have the very famous Nolime Tangere, or is it Tangere? Tangere or Tangere? Someone's gotta help me out on that one. I have Kenya. I have Devil on the Cross from Kenya. Personally, that one is very high up on my TBR because it just sounds like it talks about so many things that I'm interested in. Then I have Indonesia. I have both This Earth of Mankind as well as Beauty is a Wound. Both of those sound phenomenal. I have Taiwan, The Membranes, which, ooh, really cool. This one is a sci-fi, which is also cool. I think it's set below the oceans where humanity lives in like bubbles down there. And then I have Albania and the Palace of Dreams. Those are my updates for 2023 from around the world. I also was really motivated to start this book club with you guys because, as you saw, I've only gotten like 4 or 5 new countries in this year, and I want to keep expanding and like pushing myself to like just try and find literature from around the world, because with some countries of course it's very easy, with others it's a bit harder to get my hands on books, just because maybe they haven't been translated or I cannot for the life of me find copies. I'm very excited to re-embark on this quest with you guys, and if you are joining Fable, if you are joining the World Tour Book Club, please say hi in the comment section. Please come say hi on the app in our chat. Let me know how you're doing, and I will see you there. I'm so excited to either be reading like Water for Chocolate or Earth Eater. Both concern themes of food, consumption, recipes, community. I will see you on board, and until then, ciao.